Setnin Radio, hosted by Mark Newbold and Louis Turfrey.
Louis Turfrey here.
Mark Newbold.
And we're starting off this section of Setnin Radio with a review of what's happened during 2005.
Yep, and there's been plenty going on.
Yeah, we are going to skip ahead of it though, because we're going to skip ahead rather to the most important thing that's happened, I should say, which is the release of the new Star Wars film.
Yep, Revenge of the Sith, which came out in May of this year. The last Star Wars film to hit the big screen, or the last new Star Wars film to hit the big screen until we get the 3D versions, which we're supposed to be getting in a couple of years' time.
Interesting.
It will be very interesting. Very interesting.
Revenge of the Sith. There were 3D goggles on.
Apparently not. Apparently the technology's moved forward enough that you can just pretty much watch it. Disney have been doing something new. They did it in that Chicken Little.
Yes.
Apparently it's supposed to really bring it straight into your face. So apparently it's a technique that's been perfected that I don't think you need the goggles. I could be wrong. Often am. But
split shift focusing, I think.
Something like that. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see how they play that out.
Yes, yeah. So we got news about 3D, but okay, let's stick on Revenge of the Sith for a little while.
Sith.
You know, what did you think of that film?
Loved it. No two ways about it. Film of the year for me. And it's been a strong year. If you look at all the other movies that have been out this year, Kong was a strong film, Narnia was a great film, Sin City was absolutely astounding, I thought.
Loved Sin City.
Yeah.
Shame didn't see it at the cinema.
Yeah.
Had to see it on DVD.
I don't know, I don't think you really lost out to any great degree. I think that film would work if you're watching it on your mobile phone, to be honest. Yeah. It is that good.
It was one of those films, I must say that, to me, it's one of these things that comes full circle again.
Yeah.
And the amazing thing I found about it was that it told a real story.
Absolutely.
You know, and it wasn't just sort of a homage to, comic art.
No.
It was a proper and real story, and covered most of the major characters in the Sin City comics. Mm-hmm. And, killed a couple of them off.
Yeah.
But keeping them in the continuity at the same time.
Well, that's it. They're doing the sequel. The sequel's out next year, and already they're really pushing forward with it. The great thing about Sin City is even when the graphic novels came out, Frank Miller would do the next graphic novel, but it would be a prequel to the one you just read. So Marv's in the new film. All the guys that died in the first Sin City movie are in the next Sin City film. Because the comics were done in that way. It was like Pulp Fiction stuff. Obviously, we talked about it in previous Setnin radios about your passion for Serenity.
I love Serenity,
which I share.
But that's simply because I can't believe they did such a good movie on such a small budget.
No, 39 million. Yeah.
It was an excellent movie.
Yeah, it was.
It
just draw.
There were a couple of dodgy moments with some of the effects.
Dodgy moments in every film.
But I'd rate them above television effects.
Yeah.
God, yeah. I'd rather have a couple of cheap moments in a good movie than have to, the whole movie have to rely on special effects.
Yeah.
Which, in some respects, was why I was a little bit disappointed with what happened in Sith. Okay, we knew what was going to happen.
Yeah.
I think, really, there were some great plot points that were left out.
Yeah, the novel was where, plot-wise and story-wise, the novel's where it's at.
The novel was definitely better than the film, I think, which is a strange thing, because normally, if you see the film first, you read the novel fills in the background, but it's usually just, okay, it's a shame they didn't put that in the film.
Yeah.
But when you actually go to the novel, the actual Episode 3 novel, and you've read it, I mean, I've read it 5 or 6 times now.
Have you?
Easily, and I've seen the film more than that.
Oh, yeah.
But that's mainly because my youngster loves to watch the film 5 or 6 times a week.
Yeah.
And you catch a bit here and a bit there, and a bit you miss sort of thing.
That's right.
But I still think, the novel is the stronger of the two versions.
Yeah.
And I think that's only because you get to hear what's going on in the people's heads.
Yeah, I agree.
Which I don't think has really been fully explored in previous versions of the Star Wars novels.
No, I agree with that. I've always liked novelisations of films. I've always enjoyed it. Always enjoyed reading them. Because, like you say, it does fill in little bits, and you've got time to digest things that you might not have thought about before. I couldn't tell you how many times I've read the original Star Wars and Empire novelisations. I remember sitting down on a Saturday morning and just reading the Empire novelisation, and the Ghostbusters one, actually. But Sith is just, it's the best novelisation I've ever read, by a mile, because there is so much going on in there. It's just ridiculous. It's how good it is.
Would you rate it up with other novelisations of films?
Oh.
Is there anything else that comes anywhere close to it?
No. Not for a film novelisation. Nowhere near. It's something there's levels going on in that book. I'd rate that. Well, it's awkward to say this because it's from Lucas's original story, but Matthew Stover makes that book his own, and I would rate that in the top 3 Star Wars books ever. Yeah. And that's not fake praise. That's like, I'm comparing that to Han Solo at Star's End and Splinter of the Mind's Eye and the real early classic Star Wars stories, because I don't think anybody's ever really topped the original Han Solo stories. There's been some good stuff in the EU that's come on, but the thing I find about the more recent books is that they're just too eager to reference other things. What I loved about Splinters is
they're trying to be too clever in the recent
books. Yeah. What I loved about Splinters and the Han Solo books is that, for example, Brian Daly was said, right, you've got Han Solo, you've got Chewbacca, you've got the Millennium Falcon. They can smuggle and fly around, but you can't mention anything else from Star Wars. And that was his brief. That was what he was allowed. And look at what he did with those 3 stories. I mean, I'm writing a short story at the moment, a Yalamona one, that's set in the corporate sector. He's there. He's not doing stuff. There's no big political thing going on, but he's in the corporate sector. He's on Amud. And it's really interesting to do a bit of research and find out about it and go back to the stories that I read when I was sort of 8, in the late 70s, and just, it's really, really interesting.
Have you looked at the corporate sector guide, one of the role-playing guides? Because that's really useful for background information.
Yeah.
I'll loan it to you.
Oh, thank you very much. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. Yeah. But Sith as a film in total, I mean, apart from the fact that it's going to end out the year as the #1 box office movie, which it's a shame. You look back at 3 years ago when Clones came out, and we were all so pleased with that because it's a proper action-adventure movie.
Absolutely.
And looking back, actually, when Minority Report came out in that year, if I remember correctly, Spielberg and Lucas, I think they're both 2 very similar sort of movies. I think Minority Report is a sort of a Maltese Falcon, Raiders of the Lost Ark sort of action movie.
Absolutely.
With a twist.
It jumps from one set piece to another set piece to another set piece to another set piece.
And Clones is just the same. Clones is dark at the end, but that's great action and great effects, and there's so much going on in that film. And yet you move forward to this year when Lucas does Episode 3, which is dark. I mean, it's a grim film. Not as grim as Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. That is a grim film. Brilliant film, but grim. And Spielberg does War of the Worlds, which again is very similar to Sith in its tone.
And I have to say, which he ruined.
Everything
but the last 20 minutes of that film was brilliant.
Biggest letdown of the year.
The last 20 minutes of that film was so abysmal.
It's the first film I've seen Spielberg do, and I know that Munich's come out now, and Munich is getting fantastic reviews, brilliant reviews. And I think it's mainly because you look back to all of Spielberg's early films, he didn't have a star headlining the film. Okay, Harrison Ford became a star.
Yeah.
But when Raiders came out, okay, he was Han Solo and he'd been in a couple of other films, but Harrison Ford wasn't a big star. It wasn't Harrison Ford in Raiders of the Lost Ark. It was a Steven Spielberg film, Raiders of the Lost Ark. He was the actor in it. And his early E.T., Jaws, they didn't have big names. Ever since Private Ryan, when you had Tom Hanks, you had Private Ryan, and then you had The Terminal, and obviously Minority Report, and now War of the Worlds. It's not just a Spielberg film anymore, it's a Tom Cruise film. Now, War of the Worlds
Tom
to
Hanks,
me...
Tom Cruise, Tom somebody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, War of the Worlds, to me, is more of a Tom Cruise film rather than a Spielberg film, and it suffers for it. As much as I like Cruise, I think he's one wheel short of a wagon, but,
he's an excellent actor.
He's a great actor.
And the interesting thing is that whereas you normally see sort of like, you class him as sort of like an action actor, much of the stuff he's done now is an action. Whereas you look at stuff like Rain Man,
he can really act.
He can act. I mean, again, Cocktail, one of his earlier ones. Yeah. But again, there were some scenes in that when you actually genuinely feel for the character involved.
Oh yeah.
Fake Irish accents at the end. Sorry,
well,
didn't quite match it for me.
No.
But again, it's one of these things, and it was spoilt by what I felt was a nod to audiences, and we're not going to sit down for more than 2 hours
for a sad ending.
Yeah. Well, okay, The War of the Worlds is not a sad ending. Technically, it's not a sad ending.
No.
But they could have done it a lot better than they did.
Well, I mean, don't want to stay on War of the Worlds too long, apart from the ILM link.
Yeah. Which I have to say, ILM effects were superb.
Amazing.
Especially when
Sith, if Sith doesn't win this year, I wouldn't be. I'd love it if War of the Worlds won. Yes. I'd love it. Although I do personally, I'm partisan, I know, but I think I don't see anything that's come out this year that's as good as Sith.
No,
great as King Kong is.
Yes.
As a single effect.
It is just that. It's a single effect.
Although saying that, their 3D realisation of New York is top drawer, but it's no better than Coruscant. I mean, Coruscant is you there. I mean, it's
it's more difficult to design, believe it or not, sort of an extraterrestrial environment
and make it look realistic.
Make it look realistic. Then it's to take a sort of like a terrestrial environment and digitalise it.
Yeah.
I mean, because you can use maps. Take a picture of a building, you use that as a map on digital image, you adjust it as you need to. You know, that I know from basic 3D work. Obviously, it can be a lot more, complex on whatever model you use. But I do think I'm more impressed with the different planetary aspects of Revenge of the Sith than I am with, Coruscant.
I agree.
Again. And again, I'm going to come full circle again down to Serenity. Again, they did use obvious Earth-type locations.
Oh, yeah. Who doesn't?
Because, who doesn't know? But there were some genuinely good shots there. CG effects, I mean, the space battle there was... I would rate that not probably quite as good as Sith.
The opening battle, you mean?
The opening battle. But, bloody close.
Oh, God, yeah.
Bloody close.
Yeah, absolutely. But it's been a very strong year. Very strong year. Madagascar was a great film. Fantastic Four, I expected drivel and smiled all the way through it.
I was quite impressed. I mean,
I was very impressed.
It was a homage.
Yeah.
As far as I was concerned.
And I'm really glad it made good money worldwide. It made a couple of $100 million worldwide. And they're doing a sequel next year.
And the characters were themselves just down,
Oh, yeah.
just down the line as far as the actual original characters.
Especially the Human Torch.
Oh, yes.
Very good.
Easily. And you've got the Ben Grimm character.
Yeah.
As well, which touched on his initial relationships.
That's it. I mean, the good thing is they can build with this now. They can build. I mean, I'm hoping that eventually, because Ben Grimm does metamorphose even more, they do go for a CG Ben Grimm eventually. I mean, the effects will get better. They go for a CG Ben Grimm. Still not quite sure about the Invisible Girl. I don't think she was the right actress to play that part. But even there, I enjoyed what she did. So yeah, it's been a really, really good year.
I'm slightly going to disagree with you as far as the CG Ben Grimm is concerned.
Yeah.
Because although I do think that, like a CG Hulk,
a
CG Ben Grimm would be superb.
Yeah.
I also have the opinion that you cannot get the same interaction with a CG character as you can with a live actor. Yeah. And although the foam rubber suit was a little bit
clunky,
clunky in places, I do think that the actual character carried it off really well. And
there
were some CG moments in there, obviously. CG with
the whole scene on the bridge. It was brilliantly played out.
Absolutely, and
really well played out.
That's what I like about that movie. Yeah, you feel, you get this feel for the story. Yeah, and of course the Von Doom character. Yeah, absolutely superb, well played, I think. Yeah, and I think I'm looking forward to the next season.
Me too, definitely, definitely.
2006, I think, for movies is going to be a good year.
Well, the two biggies so far as it stands, because I don't think is there a Potter film next year? I think there is, isn't there?
I'm not sure. I mean, there's some.
I know they start shooting
about it. I know it's usually a 6-month shooting schedule.
Yeah, so it'll probably be November.
And they're doing the CG effects before they do the shooting.
Which is what we did with War of the Worlds. Yeah,
which means that basically, as soon as the shots are in the can and they've done the editing, it'll be out on the platform. So
the beautiful thing, they could shoot these movies and get them shot as fast as they want to get them shot.
Well, I say the 6-month shooting schedule that includes callbacks. So they do. I think it's 12 weeks in April, and then once they've got that film in the can sort of thing, then they work on from there. Which I'm really looking forward to. If it comes out next November, if it's brought forward to the
it won't come forward that fast.
It'll be a waste because they'll have spoilt the story.
Yeah.
If they take it beyond, say, to April the following year, which they did a couple of them, then I think that we're in for a really good package. Yeah. I was a little bit disappointed by the Potter this time around. Yeah. But I think it was the weakest of the whole of the stories.
Yeah. Well, you've read the books.
As far as the books are concerned. And they did a reasonable job with it, but they could have filled in a bit more. Yeah. There could have been a bit more interaction at the beginning of the movie. Yeah. Would have been lovely to see the Quidditch match at the World Cup. Yeah. Because it's supposed to be such a different level to the sort of thing that the kids are playing.
Yeah. The real people playing.
The real people playing it for real, sort of thing. So again, Harry Potter, it rates there in my top films for the year, but I'd have to rate it, 4th or 5th.
Yeah.
So
yeah. And of course, next year we've got X-Men 3, which looks fantastic.
Yes.
And the real biggie, Superman,
which I am absolutely on the edge of my seat waiting.
Me too.
Because I've seen some of the special effects. Yeah. I've seen all of the stuff that they got on the websites. Yeah. I've seen a couple of the trailers that are out there. Yeah. And I've seen a couple of bits that maybe even you possibly haven't seen yet. But I'll talk about that some other day because I can't talk about that at the moment. Okay. With any luck, I'll be going to see the premiere, the UK premiere.
Oh, fantastic!
So with any luck, we'll get some information on that, and maybe even a press screening if I can get myself in time.
Brilliant.
Before then, so I'll let you know.
Great.
So, but yes, everything about that is impressing me. And jumping back a little step, some of the other things that impressed me about 2005, some of the television sci-fi shows.
Yes.
Stargate Atlantis. Yeah. Season 2. Yeah. I've only seen the first 9 episodes. I think it's the first 9 episodes of that so far. But as far as I'm concerned, it's really playing out.
Yeah.
it's sort of I can't really compare it. It's a bit like a Deep Space Nine version of Stargate.
Wow, still the best TV show ever.
Yes, I will concur on that one. And I'd say it's sort of getting that. You've got the main characters now. They all focus around this one base area, obviously, in Atlantis. Yeah. And, you've got the major baddie, but you've got a few minor baddies coming into the equation now. Yeah. People more powerful than the major baddies, bits and pieces like that. And then there's Smallville.
Yeah.
Excellent so far, this series. Looking forward to the new series, the second half of this series. Yeah. Starting out in January, which I'll be looking at. Seen all the episodes available of that so far. Yeah. And, of course, my favourite of all of them, Battlestar Galactica. Yeah. Now, in the UK, Season 2 starts, I think, in a week and a half's time. Yeah. But having seen all that's available at the moment in the States, I'm mega impressed with the quality of the writing and sort of like the episodic value. Yeah. Because you go from one episode to another and there's a continuing storyline, but there's also individual stories within each episode that stand out on their own.
The A story, the B story, the C story,
Yes, something like that, yeah. And, of course, there's some really good-looking hot female actress. In there, which always
never hurts.
Yeah. Always helps.
Absolutely.
Anyway, back to the point in question. Yes, we are now getting to the limit of our time. We're looking at a total recording time now. Blimey, 16 minutes nearly, 16 and a half minutes.
That'll do.
We've done a pretty rapid review.
We have.
Of 2005.
Very rapid.
Let's just quickly touch on what we see for the site for 2006.
Well, okay. Well, one thing we've done this year, we've brought back the Setnin Select, which has been going since 2001. Mm-hmm. We're on number 1 this week. I think it's about 174. Yeah. We reach 200 on July the 4th next year, on Independence Day.
So I've got to start designing a number 200.
Yeah, you better.
Okay. Fair enough.
So that's quite a big thing.
First, folks.
You heard it here first. That's a big thing for next year. Obviously, we've got Setnin Radio going. This is episode 7. We're going to try and keep that going, hopefully weekly. Yeah. We're not going to tie ourselves down though. If there's nothing there,
nothing to report, nothing to say, then obviously
that's right. Yeah. But it'd be nice to expand that. I've already had talks with Nathan Butler from ChronoWorks about him possibly being a guest on Setnin Radio with us.
Cool.
That'll be a good thing. More stories. Increase the guides. Get the rest of the chronologies on the site, so all the stories are up. Yeah. And that's not too far away now. Where are we now? I think we're coming up to end of autonomy era. Soviet Treaty, End of Autonomy, Prelude to Invasion, and then we're into the New Underworld Age. So once we can get those up, New Underworld Age is the biggest 2 sections. There's probably 50 stories plus in there. Once they're back up, then we can look at finishing the New Underworld Age off. That's a big thing for 2006, is trying to get that finished, because that started in 2000.
I should also say as well as writing the stories, Mark, and editing them, Mark also makes sure that they fit in with the original chronology. And every time something alters on the original chronology, Mark goes back and changes every single story to compensate, including all the guides and everything else. So, many thanks for that, Mark, because without that sort of work, the site wouldn't be up the way it is now, or as accurate as it is now.
Well, being a continuity freak, I couldn't sleep at night. In fact, I'm looking at the screen right now, and I'm looking at that one banner that's not centred, and I know I'm going to get home tonight, and I'm going to load up that page, and I'm going to centre that banner.
But you'll notice that when you bring down to the normal page, it's centred.
I know that, but it's. I know now. I know. You see. So, but yeah. So yeah, the site's going well. We're very pleased. Everyone's been very kind with their comments.
Although we should say that lightsaber is technically spelt the correct way, and the UK dictionary spelling.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The amount of Americans who say you spell lightsaber wrong is nobody's business. I just feel like saying, well, you spell colour wrong. Yeah,
we won't go into that. Potato, tomato, isn't it?
It's a bit like that.
Yeah. And we don't want to offend
anybody. It's called English for a reason.
Yeah, well, that's what they call it, American English. You notice when you ever load up a new game or a new product onto your computer, it says International English version or American English version.
What a jip.
I know. You still got the American English dictionary.
And I think that's a good place to leave 2005. Just having an argument about who speaks proper English.
Yes.
Well, we does.
Won't go there. We does.
We
do now, don't we?
We speak proper.
We do. Well, apart from the regional accents. Yeah. Okay. So I'll say it's a Happy New Year from me.
And it's a Happy New Year from him.
Okay.
And here's to 2006.
All right. Let's raise our cans and.
Well, if I had a can, you're a cheapskate. You won't give me a beer.
Oh, never mind.
Okay.
Bye for now, guys.
See you later.